Thanks for staying with us. So the beginning of the year is a great time to plan for the future while contemplating resolutions for the year. Have you taken out time to think about estate planning goals? So today we have our expert from FBNQuest Trustees who will be sharing with us estate planning tips to consider for the new year. Why should one have an estate planning goals? That's the real question. Thank you. Welcome to the show, sir. It's good to have you again.
Thank you very much. The pleasure is all mine.
Sorry, I don't have your name here. I do apologize for that. But estate, yes, Mr. Rotimi
Obende.
Obende, welcome, sir. I do apologize. I didn't have that on my script. So you've been here several times. You talked about FBNQuest Trustees on different levels, but this is about estate planning. Why should somebody have an estate planning project plan for with FBNQuest
for the new year?
Yes, for the new year.
Okay, so thank you for having me. One thing that is clear is that when the new year comes, there are a lot of energy, and so people want to start to set goals. And part of the goals that probably people set, health goals, they want to eat more healthier. They have goals around their finances. They want to make another 20 billion this year. They also have goals around academics. So they have goals around qualifications. Some even have goals around career. Some have around the fact that they want to japa. But we then realize that what a lot of people do not think and consider is the fact that they also need to have estate planning as part of their goals. So what do we mean? You are looking at people, for example, their status might have changed between last year and this year. So maybe probably you got married. And one thing you also need to know is that once you get married, if you had a will before, that will automatically becomes invalidated. So you should be looking at having a new will. So that's all we are talking about. As you plan your finances, as you make goals for the new year, include estate planning goals. Some people would have bought property, and so they've not asked themselves who are the ultimate beneficiaries. They've not asked themselves what are the most cost-effective measures to put in place even before they buy the property. Are you looking at long-term goals or even short-term goals? You need to build estate planning into all of the decisions you want to make this year.
My neighbor asked me a funny question when I tried to introduce her to a mutual trust. I think one of the guests had left and she was like, I saw the guest on your show. So I was saying to her that you can actually start one for your kids' education. And that as you put money there, it grows, and then maybe when they need it, maybe for university education, they can access it. She then said, okay, say the children that I want to send abroad, when they say they should bring balance and sponsor, she FBN can sponsor and say they are the ones paying the school fees. So help me answer, since I couldn't answer the question.
So that's particularly interesting because if you have a trust arrangement in place, we can actually do you letters to either the school or the embassy that they are looking at going. So that's why, as part of your goals for this year, you need to also set up an education trust. When you set up an education trust and you then properly fund it, when it comes to issuing letters like that, FBNQuest Trustees will be able to do that for you. So it's not something that you should shy away from. Prepare to have an education plan, an education trust this year. Start to fund it, and if you have a 5-10-year goal, you will be able to use whatever you have saved in your trust for sponsorship and whatever it is that you need to do.
How should one go about it? I mean, I want to put it directly to me, my own situation. Do I really need an estate plan? I only have one child.
Okay, so a lot of us procrastinate, and you've said I should use you as an example. And I do ask that you are, and ask for an apology well ahead of time as I use you as an example this morning. One of the times that we appeared last time, you had talked about one of the programs that you have on an annual basis. And we have said, okay, maybe we need to sit down and have conversations around trying to put that as a legacy project. One thing that we need to try and do away with this year is procrastination. A lot of people will say, yes, I will do it, I will do it, I will do it. So number one goal is that you need to kill procrastination. You need to actually sit down, set up a plan, start to actively fund that plan. So you say you have one child. It is important that you set up a trust arrangement for that child because, again, we are not getting any younger. And it's key that you assign people or an individual and an institution that will watch out for the welfare of that child if anything was to happen to you. So start to move some of your assets or all of your assets into a trust arrangement. Again, like I said earlier, there are tax implications around all of the decisions that we make. So just imagine if at the end of the day they value your estate and it's not in a trust arrangement and your estate is worth 100 million naira, just saying. Remember that when probate does happen, 10% of the total value of your asset goes to the state government, and that's 10 million. If your assets are not liquid, the government or the probate registry will need to ask your estate to sell some of those assets before they can pay estate tax, and then they can then have access to what you've left behind for them. So it's important that you put all of this plan in place for the new year.
Okay, so very, very, very important, because as Mike was saying, I have only one daughter. The truth is, you actually don't have only one daughter.
2 grandchildren,
You have,
nieces, nephews.
you have grandchildren, nephew, and nieces, and everybody is. You would want everybody to be to understand your love and feel your love when you're gone. So I never thought about that until you mentioned it. It just occurred to me that true. I can't say I'm the only child of my parents, because there are many people that take care of my parents, and it shouldn't just be, oh, everything should go to me. But I want to go back to the one that is affecting our own age range. Of course, I know this one too affects us. This education, the children and stuff, we've gone over it a few times, and yet there is a conversation of what is the, with Naira being devalued, even if you put it in dollars, like how long are we going to save to get to where we will be able to pay our kids' school fees from this trust? So can you help address that question? Is it that you set up the trust in a foreign currency, or you set it up in Nigeria, Naira? What if you want a child to study abroad and all of that? How do we ensure that regardless of inflation, this still makes sense?
Okay, so with the way the CBN policies and all of that happen on a daily basis, is important, and we do ask people have 2 kinds of trust: education trust, have a Naira trust, education trust, and have a dollar-denominated education trust. That way, it solves a lot of the exchange rate that will happen in future. Now, the beauty of an education trust is that your money or your funds are invested, and so you can earn as high as 10 to 12%, depending on the structure that you put in place. So you are saying, for example, that I do not want to touch my trust assets until when my child is getting into university. So the Naira part takes care of the funding for this period. In future, the dollar part will then take care of the dollar bills, dollar school fees. So your trust earns interest, and so that interest can be used for compound interest on a monthly, actually it's on a daily basis, so it's compounded on a daily basis, but you see the interest manifest on a monthly basis. So if you set a 10-year goal or a 15-year goal, depending on the age, and just ask yourself, just asking myself, what was dollar 10 years ago? If I had started 10 years ago. Again, the Chinese would always say, the best time to start is now. So let's start now and let's watch it grow.
Is it possible for people, because most people earn in Naira in Nigeria, a market woman selling flour in the market would like to do a trust for her child. She's never done a transaction in dollars, doesn't know what it's like, but has to pay school fees if the child has to go to Canada that she's planning in dollars. So is it possible that whatever she invests in the mutual trust that she earns in Naira, FBN can do the dollar investment for her, even though Naira is what she's bringing in? Can you do the switch? And if you can, at what rate?
Okay, so we have a fund that you can invest in Naira and you can withdraw in dollars. But then is based on the actual goal that you have. So yes, you can invest in Naira. That is then converted, and you can then earn your funds back in dollars. I can't give you a rate now because mutual fund rates changes on a daily basis. So you can be rest assured that if you start today, you bring in all your Naira, you invest, the market woman invests in that fund. Market women are actually the wealthiest in Nigeria. Just to put that. So the fund is then invested in a dollar-denominated fund, and that can then be used ask for school fees in future.
So how do we reach you? Any phone number, contact for those who are watching and interested in FBNQuest Trustees?
Yeah, so you can reach us on 08054 000 299. That's our phone number, phone contact. You can also visit our website at FBNQuest.
Can I see your Instagram?